Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome back. So last time we talked about imperfect competition and we discussed the game theory. And so the game theory deals the situation where the profit of each player depends on its own strategy as well as others' strategies. Okay? So if the profit is only depends on my strategy, then that is called optimization. Utility maximization problem. But it also depends on others' strategy, then this is no longer an optimization problem, but a game theory problem. So last time we talked about the two different types of typical game theory. The first one is Bertrand model and the second one is Kruno model. And the Bertrand model is called game in price. So as a seller, you can determine the selling price, which means I don't want to sell these goods below this price. Okay, so I want to sell this good at least getting this price. But the Bertrand model, applying Bertrand model in electricity market is not quite good. It's too much simplified. So the next model was called Kruno model. This one, and this is called game in quantity. So here you can select how much you sell in the market, and we use the inverse demand function. So anyway, for the Bertrand model or the Kruno model, when you determine the price, then the quantity is determined. Or if you determine the quantity, the price is determined from the inverse demand function. So in Kruno model, two players, so their strategy, their action is how much to sell. So yeah, the market price depends on the quantity, Y1 and Y2, and the cost function of my generation. So player 1 wants to maximize its profit, and player 2 also wants to maximize its profit by adjusting the generation quantity. And at some point, they don't want to change their strategy anymore, and that point is called Kruno equilibrium. So at the equilibrium, in game theory, that means I don't want to change my strategy as long as you don't change your strategy. Okay, so last time I sang a song, As Long As You Love Me. You know that song, okay? So, and we did short-run profit maximization analysis. And interestingly, we had this formula. What it says is the market price, which is determined from the total quantity of player 1 and 2. And then that is equal to the marginal cost of the player I, but this part is multiplied by that. This is the market share of firm I, player I, same, or generator I, and this is the elasticity of demand. Anyway, so this is less than 1. So the market price in the case of imperfect competition would go up compared to the perfect competition case. So yeah, this was the example. We had two companies, different marginal cost, $35, $45, and this is the inverse demand curve. And then for given quantity, production quantity, 15 and 10, we can determine the total demand, the market observed, what these two firms generate, and the price is determined from this inverse demand function. So we can compute the revenue and the volume. So the cost is determined. So we could construct this table. So the total demand. So based on the generation quantity, of firm A and firm B. The demand is determined, the price is determined, the profit of firm A, the profit of firm B are determined. So, yeah, it was the table, and yeah, the strategy of firm A, how much I need to produce. The strategy of firm B, how much I need to produce. So depending on the level of production, different profit for firm A and different profit for firm B. And the interesting thing happens at this point, right? And this is the chrono equilibrium point, because when we are here, the firm A does not have an incentive to change its strategy as long as player B, firm B, does not change its strategy. Given this, changing the quantity decreases its profit, so player A wants to keep its strategy, and vice versa. So that's why it is called equilibrium. And we can do the similar thing. So in this case, we only assume two companies, but we can do a more general analysis, assuming that there are n companies. Okay, and out of n companies, so this figure is something like very similar to the previous example. Actually, you need to do your homework to get this curve. Okay, in chrono model, one player and n minus 1 players, and we assume that these n minus 1 players are identical. Okay, so their strategy, their generation quantity are all equal. And the purpose of this analysis is to see the impact of the production and the impact of the price as the number of firms increases. Okay, so we have n minus 1 identical firms and 1 a different firm. So using the same model, using the same inverse demand curve, and given the marginal cost of two different types of firms, depending on, okay, by the way, actually I didn't explain to obtain this chrono equilibrium analytically. Your first homework will be do this analytically, not just by using this table, but using equations. Actually, the solution is in your textbook, but you need to read and rewrite that in your homework problem. Okay, that's an easy job. Okay, so you can do that, and the solution is actually very similar to this one and that one. Here we quantize the generation quantity by 5 megawatt, but in that continuous analysis, the solution is like I don't know, 26 point blah blah, something like that. Very similar to that. Anyway, you can do that for n firms. Okay, 1 plus n minus 1. And when you do that, this is the result. As the number of firms increases, so 2 is the case, but as the number of firms increases, this is the production of firm A and the production of all other firms. And this is the total production. So this is the total production of n minus 1 firms, and this is a production of just another firm. We have n minus 1 identical firm. Okay? And obviously, kind of obviously, as the number of firms increases, the production quantity of firm A decreases, and other, let's say A, B, and we have n minus 1 B companies. So this is the production of firm B. It also decreases, but the n minus 1 times that increases. Okay, so this times n minus 1 is that curve. Okay. So, yeah, in this Kruner model, as the number of firms increases, the market share of firm A decreases, right? And this is the price. So, again, as the number of firms increases, price decreases. As we have more players in the market, even though they do strategic decisions, the increasing number of firms let the price decrease, which is good, right? And the demand is same to the total generation, increases. So more generation and the price decreases. So, yeah, this is production, this is price, and this is profit. So as the number of units, the firms increases, the profit of firm A decreases, and the profit of another firm B also decreases, but the total profit of other firms, so this times n-1, looks like that. Okay, so you need to get this curve in your homework. Okay. Any questions so far?
그 게임 티오리를 지금 하고 있는데 결국에는 남의 다른 플레이어들의 스트래티지를 이제 알아야 되는데 실제로는 그거를 다 추정하나요?
Okay, good question. So, my strategy also depends on others' strategy, and in your analysis, you can do that. You know, this is a simple example, and inverse demand function is given, so yeah, you can figure it out.
실제로는 다 추정을 하는 거예요.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. And then, so two players can reach the equilibrium. Actually, yeah, this would be my kind of best strategy.
그냥 뭔가 생각했을 때 어쨌든 내 뭔가 전략을 노출시키지 다 안고 싶어 하니까.
I don't reveal my strategy at all, but just two players are reasoning what they would do. If I do this, then what they would do. If they do this, then what I would do. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, do the Kruner analysis for two firms and n firms, and then you know what I'm saying. Any other questions? Okay. Let's talk about other competition models. So again, perfect competition, very easy ideal case. Imperfect competition. So we talked about two simplest game theoretic model, Butland model and Kruner model. But in reality, this is just a toy example. Okay, we cannot apply Kruner model in real situation. So in real electricity market, the researchers studied several mechanisms to limit the capability of the companies. I mean, so they don't want to, the regulator doesn't want to other companies to exercise their market power. Okay, so exercise market power means there are only a few players, so they want to increase the price, right? Either by reducing the quantity or by raising the price. And then the market price will go up, so which is not good for customers. So anyway, the generation company wants to maximize their profit, and that may distort the market. So when we designed the electricity market, this mechanism was invented, which is called supply function bidding. And when we use supply function bidding, we can reach supply function equilibrium. So what it says is when the generation company bids, actually they need to provide the information, both the bids and the price and the quantity at the same time. And not just a single bid, a collection of bids. For this price, I would provide this much. For that price, I would generate this much. So that is called supply function. Okay? For this price, my generation would be like that. For that price, my generation would be like that. So that is a supply function. Okay? No. Quantity and price, this is supply function, this is demand function. So in this bidding process, the generation company needs to bid their supply function. Not just the price and quantity, just a single point. Okay? It needs to submit the whole function. That is called supply function bidding. So bid depends, the bid price depends on quantity. Okay? A function is bidded. Yeah, it was studied like 1980, 90, something like that. And there is a bunch of study in this area. And the purpose of introducing supply function bidding is what? What is the purpose of introducing supply function bidding in real electricity market? To discourage the generation company to exercise market power. No. Yeah, sure. Market. What is market power? Market power depends on my share in the market. And so in a full perfect competition market, perfect competition. In this perfect competition market, in perfectly competitive market, no one can influence on the market price, right? The market clearing price is just determined in the market. I cannot increase or decrease it because I'm so tiny. But the opposite case is imperfect competition, where there are only a few players, right? So in the case of imperfect competition, which is the case of electricity market, the reason is because there are not many generators, only a few, right? In Korea, only 6 generation companies. There are 6 generation companies. So in this imperfect competitive market, the regulator needs to prevent the generation company to exercise market power. Exercise market power means they try to maximize their profits, and so they try to increase the price, something like that. Okay, so exercise market power, exercise size. Is it correct? So the regulator need to prevent generation companies from exercising market power. And this supply function bidding is that kind of mechanism. Okay? So by letting the generation company bid using this supply function, this whole information, using the kind of supply function can prevent the generation company to exercise market power. Okay? So yeah, your textbook says something blah 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 about that, just using some text. And that topic was popular 10, 20 years ago. Okay. Or your homework for 2 players and n players, that is a very simplified model, toy model. This is a theoretical work, but anyway, this kind of theoretical work requires some assumption, right? And typically, when you write a paper, when you assume something, that means this is not the assumptions is kind of the gap between theory and practice. Right? In real case, no, that's not the case, but just for analytical purpose, you need to assume something to simplify the things. So rather than doing this kind of mathematical analysis, what we can do is do agent-based simulation. Yeah, we have an agent and we have an environment, something like reinforcement learning. Then you can put many rules here and then see what happens in this simulated world. And because this agent behaves to maximize their profits, given rule, okay, we can see what happens in real situation. So this agent-based simulation can represent more complex interactions. Okay, kind of simulation, but agent-based simulation. And also another interesting, maybe you think this is absurd, but no, this is okay. So suppose that you are a representative of generation companies, and then I give you some market rule, and then let you bid. Okay? And just see what happens. Each of you strategically thinks to maximize the profit given the cost function and given the market rule. Okay? Assuming that you are all rational. Maybe some of you are not. But anyway, yeah. So human-based experiment is also possible. And then also, so far, our assumption is that the company wants to maximize their profit, but maximizing short-term profit may not be their objective. Why? Suppose that you are at an early stage of, so you made a company and you are at a very early stage. So your purpose is not to maximize your profit, but just to increase your market share first. Okay, for that period you can sell at a very cheap price, right? You know that we have 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. 1,001 for coffee, Americano, Grazie, yeah, something like that. So maximizing market share, okay? Or they just don't want the regulator to intervene what they are doing. So they want to avoid regulatory intervention. So they don't want to increase the price, just keep the price low for the time being, something like that. Okay? So another types of strategic decision is required here. Not just to maximize your profit, but have other purposes. And actually the other purpose is to maximize your profit in a long run. Right? This is just maximizing short-term profit only. That's very microscopic, myopic point of view. But in the long run, if you want to make money, then this kind of detour may be good. Does it make sense? Yeah. Okay, so up to this point, we assume generation company that is based on fossil fuel, coal, natural gas, diesel, etc. But there are another types of plants that do not burn fossil fuels, nuclear power plant and hydroelectric power plants. And actually the nuclear power plants needs to maintain its facility regularly, like every 12 months or every 18 months. But other than that, it needs to run all the time, generating constant power all the time, like 1 gigawatt. Okay. And hydroelectric power plant, or you can put here pumped hydroelectric power plant. What is pumped hydroelectric power plant. 양수 발전. Okay, they are typical power plant that do not burn fossil fuels, nuclear or hydro power plant. And also we have renewable generation, wind and solar. And as you know, yeah, we are doing a lot of this, so you all know these things. But anyway, this renewable generation is intermittent, so it changes over time. So we need to predict its generation. But the thing is, it depends on countries, and the marginal. Okay, two things. This renewable generation has almost zero marginal cost. In the case of photovoltaic, almost zero, but it incurs some maintenance cost. Something like you need to swipe the solar panel, because when there are a lot of dirts on the panel, then the efficiency drops. Okay, so sometimes humans go there and wipe it over. You need to buy a robot that do the same job. Anyway, okay, so almost zero marginal cost, but it requires huge investment first, right? So a lot of capex, right? So at an early stage, these renewable generators cannot make money. That's why government need to have some policy and give some subsidies. What is subsidies? Yeah, subsidies means 보조금. Okay, so there are different policies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Different policies to encourage renewable generators to get into the market. So let's go one by one. The first one, renewable portfolio standard, RPS. Did you see this keyword in the newspaper article? No? Is there anyone who knows the meaning of RPS? Similar, but not exact. Okay, so you visited 당연히 발전소 last Monday. Last Monday. Last week, Monday last week. So their generation is based on what? LNG, right? That is not based on renewable generation. But governments wants to promote renewable generation. So all generation company, actually not all. So the generation company that is based on fossil fuel need to provide energy, at least some portion of the energy using renewable. That is called renewable portfolio standards. Okay, like 10% of generation must be from renewable, 20% of the generation must be renewable. Okay, to encourage the renewable, to encourage the install of investment on the renewable generation. And what Min just said is about this one, renewable energy certificate, REC. No, these two you must remember these two keywords. What is REC then? Renewable energy certificates. Again, so you are LNG power plant, and you must generate 10% of the energy using renewable because of RPS of some government like Sildavia, whatever. Okay, but you don't have money to invest about. You don't have money to install solar power or wind power. But anyway, you need to provide 10% of energy using renewable. Then what you can do is buy this one. So renewable energy certificate means that this company generated this amount of renewable energy. Okay, so and the renewable generation company, when they generate renewable energy, they have this certificate, and this certificate can be transacted in the market. You can sell it to someone who needs it. So, 100% LNG power plant, but he needs to provide 10% of energy using renewable, then he can buy REC in the market to fulfill his renewable portfolio standard. Okay, you see what I'm saying? And because this is something that can be traded in the market, this price also fluctuates over time. Okay, and it depends on, of course, it depends on S&P. Okay, sometimes REC price goes up, sometimes it goes down, blah blah blah. So sometimes the solar power generation companies are complaining that REC is too low, blah blah blah. And other things. What about this investment tax credit? When you invest on building a solar power plant, then you can get some tax credit. Okay? The government reduces your tax. Or if you generate renewable power, then you can get some tax credit, dollar per megawatt hour, something like that. So for the investment or the production, you can get tax credit. What is feed-in tariffs, FIT? You also need to remember it. FIT, feed-in tariff. Yeah. 발전기 차액 지원. Actually, the terminology used for that one or that one is just very long, complicated. I don't know what it says, but actually they are all simple. Simple. This is also simple. So the background is all of this is to encourage the investment on renewable generation, right? But again, it requires investment. And so when you compute the average cost of generation, still, in many cases, the renewable generation does not reach the grid parity. So whether the renewable generation reaches this grid penalty or not means that their average cost of generation is below the S&P or not. Okay, so when they do not reach this grid penalty, that means renewable generation is expensive. So as a generation company, by selling energy, if you cannot make money, then you don't have any incentive to do that. So the government or the system operator buys your energy, your power, at a higher price so that you can get some money. Okay, so government or the system operator, buy the energy at a higher price. So they guarantee the minimum price for the renewable generation companies. That kind of thing is called feed-in tariffs. Okay. Yeah, so this is subsidy. Government just give you some money. So that's why a lot of renewable generation, especially the solar panels, have been installed in Korea during the past 5 years. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And anyway, another one, contracts for difference. What is this? CFD. This is similar to feed-in tariffs. Actually, we discussed this before. You may or may not remember what it is, but you may remember we discussed this before. Contracts for difference. One-way contracts for difference. Two-way contracts for difference. So this is a kind of option. Right? Future option. Forward market, future market option. This is kind of option. Check it on your own. Okay. So anyway, no. Yeah, so this is something like it. So this is S&P, for example. Your generation cost is this much. Then you don't want to sell it because the market price is lower than your marginal cost. So in this case, the government or the system operator buys your energy at this price. So this is something like you call the call option. No, put option. You can sell it at a higher price. Okay, but if the S&P is higher than that, and this is your cost, then still you sell your power at this price. That means the buyer can call the call option. Okay. Anyway, so it guarantees you can make profit at a constant rate, and you don't need to worry too much about the price fluctuation. Okay. Okay, so yeah, we have a fossil fuel-based generation, we have renewable generation, and in the case of renewable generation, the power generation changes over time. So that's why we need to have a storage. So the generation company can have storage. Either the storage can be based on the battery, electrochemical battery, or pumped hydro. Okay, so yeah, this is what one of you is doing, or one of the formal member of NICE Lab did in the past. So what we want to do is, this is the market price. You know, it changes over time, and your aim is to using the battery to maximize your profit. So either discharging or charging. So this is so you can buy energy when the price is low and store it in my battery, and you can resell it in the market when the price is high. So you want to exploit this price fluctuation. That is called what? That is called arbitrage, energy arbitrage. This is very similar to what you do in the stock market. You know, price goes up, down. You know, buy at the dip, sell at the peak, something like that. But if you do the opposite, you just lose money. Okay. So if this price is given or can be anticipated, can be forecasted, you can schedule the discharging and charging to maximize the profit. And of course, we have some constraints, something like the energy level or SOC in the battery, changes over time by charging and discharging, and this is the charging round trip efficiency. You can put this kind of parameter here and there at the same time, but in this case, this is just a round trip efficiency. Okay. Yeah, the maximum energy and the maximum discharging power, maximum charging power. So the unit, this is megawatt hour or kilowatt hour. This is megawatt or kilowatt. And this T is the scheduling period, typically 1 day. Okay, so every 24 hours, the battery needs to go to the same SOC. This is that constraint. So our lab did a lot about this kind of stuff and used different types of algorithm like linear programming, dynamic programming, robust optimization, stochastic optimization, deep learning, reinforcement learning, and we are gonna do similar job for home energy storage system using reinforcement learning, using stochastic optimization, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, but we have a constraint such that you are a generation company, you have n units, so the sum of the generation must be equal to the load, but you can use the battery, charging and discharging, so you have one more degree of freedom. Okay. Centralized scheduling of storage. This is just an optimization problem. So here is an example. As a generation company, you have 3 generating units, 1, 2, 3, minimum and maximum power, and the marginal cost and the fixed cost. Well, what kind of information can you get here? This guy has the smallest fixed cost, but the highest marginal cost. So, yeah. And minimum power generation requirement. So the most expensive one, maybe this is LNG. Coal-based power plant, etc. Anyway, so just for simplicity, we assume there are 3 time slots. And this is the estimated load to provide that. Then, as a generation company, you want to minimize the total cost or maximize the profit and do the optimization, and this is the result. So this is the price. Actually, when this price is given, this is very simple optimization. Right? Yeah. So you can do that, and this is just the result. So unit 1 to 3, you can determine the output, revenue, cost, profit. Yeah. For another hour, you can compute output, revenue, cost, profit, blah, blah, blah. So this is the total profit of unit 1, 2, 3, and this is total cost without storage. And in the case you have a battery, market settlement with 1 megawatt and 10 megawatt hour battery. So when we talk about battery or energy storage system, ESS, this is a standard terminology in Korea, but no, in other country, people typically put B here, battery, because energy storage, we have different types of energy storages. And the battery is one of them. And pumped hydro is energy storage. And also, what else? Spinning reserve changes electric energy to a kinetic energy and vice versa. So this ESS is very general term. You can store energy as heat or kinetic energy or chemical energy or potential energy. All of them are called ESS, and the lithium-ion battery-based ESS is specifically BESS. But in Korea, no, this ESS is typically means lithium-ion battery. And Korea is the number 1 in this technology. Anyway, by the way, 1 megawatt / 1 megawatt hour means that ESS has 2 parts, as you know. The first one is battery, how much you can store. So megawatt hour, the energy, and it has the charging, discharging circuit, right? That is called power conditioning system, PCS. and this unit is megawatt or kilowatt. So think about the battery charger. Battery is in your cell phone, and you need to have a battery charger. The job of this battery charger converts AC to DC and DC to AC. Okay, the job of PCS, power conditioning system or power conversion system, does that. The conversion between AC and DC. So what it says is, this is 1 megawatt PCS and 10 megawatt hour battery. So why do we need to configure the system like that? That's the question. Why? No. Of course, yeah. We want to maximize profit, but in terms of designing this ESS, you may want to use, hey, that charger is too slow. I want to have faster charger or this charger, but they may be more expensive. Right? And the ratio of these two is called what? In that case, that is 0.1. That quantity is called what? 지훈. Yeah, 1/10. We have the ratio between the PCS and the battery. Yeah, that ratio is called C rate. So in this case, the C rate is 0.1. And that means it takes 1/C rate hours to fully charge the battery. Okay. So in this case, this is 0.1. So that means it takes 10 hours to charge the battery from the bottom to the top. Okay, so actually, the C rate is the discharging speed normalized by the battery energy capacity. Okay, and the technology of making PCS depends on the power electronics technology. So the Professor Angil Cho or Hong Sung Wan do that. Okay. So then, what is the typical range of the C rate? Hojin. Yeah, ESS, EV, your battery charger, a laptop, iPad, blah blah blah. It depends on the usage, but for these portable devices, the C rate is usually 1 or 0.5. So when you plug in your cell phone to the charger, you expect it is fully charged in 1 hour, or your laptop can be charged within 2 hours, something like that. So C rate is 1 or 0.5. So this 0.1 is very, very small. This is just an example. By contrast, when we need high C rate PCS, high C rate power electronic device, that is required for EV, right? So EV has a very nice acceleration capability. So the C rate of EV is up to 5, right? And the C rate of ESS typically 0.5 or 0.33. It depends on the system design, but when we have ESS, we think it takes 2 hours or 3 hours to fully charge or discharge your battery. So please remember the order of the C rate. Anyway, so here, 1 megawatt PCS and 10 megawatt hour battery gives you this profit and this battery can make that much of profit as well. And you change the PCS from 1 megawatt to 10 megawatt and do the calculation, and you find that the total costs are same, and the battery total profit is not quite good. Yeah, their total profit is also reduced. Anyway, so it depends on, so the profit, cost, revenue depends on the PCS as well. Okay. So far we discussed the generator's perspective, fossil fuel or renewable. Sometimes this generator can have storage. But then let's think about the consumer's perspective, and especially this flexible consumer's perspective. So we assume that the price elasticity of electricity is very low. But no, these days that may not be true. So we can assume flexible demands because you can have Powerwall or home ESS. So you can shift your load, and also what else? The new home appliances can be scheduled by home EMS, so they can shift the load anyway. So when you have storage or when you have advanced home appliances, you know, flexible demand is possible. So when you shift your load, or when you reduce or increase your load, you need to get some incentive. Otherwise, you don't want to do that, right? So that is called demand response. I repeatedly said that before. And there are two types of compensation. So remunerating flexible demand means remunerating is compensate or give money. Okay? The price-based and incentive-based. The price-based flexible demand means that the price is advertised, broadcasted first. So you know the time-varying price in advance, so that the home appliances can schedule the load. So price-based flexible demand requires TOU, time of use. Right? By contrast, incentive-based means that when something bad happens in this region or in our country, the demand should be reduced rather than increasing the generation. Okay, so there's kind of emergency situation, and then in that case, the consumer who reduces their energy consumption need to get paid by the amount of the reduced demand. You see what I'm saying? Okay, so they need to get the incentive. And then the next question is, how much incentive should be given to the demand response users? Kilowatt, how much? 101 per kilowatt hour, or 1001 per kilowatt hour, something like that. So the designing of this incentive is one subject, but another difficult part is how can you measure the demand reduction? How can you do that? Hey, you can say, hey, I turned on my air conditioner to reduce my demand this much, so please give me some money. You may want to do that, but how can you prove it? There should be some baseline. Compared to some condition, like 1 week ago, or my typical power consumption behavior, I reduced my power consumption this much. Okay? So in the case of this incentive-based demand response, everybody needs to agree on how to determine the base load. So from this base load, I reduce this much. Then how can we agree on this? The simpler, the better, right? So like the average of your, for this time duration, like 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., the average power consumption within 1 week or 2 weeks, or within 1 month, something like that. Okay, so if that is simple, the users can agree on that because they know how to compute the baseline. But of course, determining this baseline is a research topic, and one of your senior studied that 9 years ago, 8 years ago. He is now working at Apple. So that paper is this one. And that was our first paper published in Energies. Sehong told me, Professor, there is a journal called Energies, and then many papers are published in that journal. I don't know who he is, so. Publication. This one. Data-driven baseline estimation of residential buildings for demand response. So let's open it. And this is a joint work with some company. The company name is Omni System. So Omni System is a company who sells smart meter, and also they are a DR provider in Korea. And then at the time, we had some government project about this topic. And of course, it is 2015, submitted when? Received this. So this is before AlphaGo came out. So at the time, AI, was not that popular. But anyway, this research is based on machine learning, and that machine learning is a self-organizing map. The proposed data-driven baseline modeling is based on unsupervised learning technique. Specifically, we leverage both the self-organizing map and K-means clustering for accurate estimation. I think maybe this is almost the first work in our lab that used machine learning. Maybe the second first. And so I didn't know much about this stuff. And actually, Seong did all the job. I didn't know what so meant. But he took the class data mining from Professor Yang Ji-hoon. And he wanted to use this technique with that one. But our first submission was rejected. The reason was because when we used this K-means clustering, we didn't explain how the number of clusters K is determined. Okay, so our first submission to Energies was rejected. Okay, that was the only rejection from Energies so far. Anyway, let me go back to, by the way, this paper looks like that. And we spent a lot of time in writing this section because Sehong was not quite good at choosing the notation, and he was not quite rigorous the notations. There are many typos again and again and again. Sehong should watch this video. Anyway, so we used the nationwide data provided by Omni System. So What is it? Daily load profile for apartment residents across 24 hours period. So I forgot the details, but anyway, using the sum and k-means clustering, we can construct the baseline load, and that better reflects the base load compared to other method. Okay, that's it. So, in Korea, for demand response program, we are using this incentive-based one. So, and TOU is not used yet for residential customers. The reason is because residential customers do not have smart meter yet. Some residential customers have that, but no, not all. And we have 5 more minutes, but I think we'd better stop here. We have a few more slides about the market perspective, but let me stop here. And we will meet next Wednesday after midterm period